All right, everybody, welcome to our Q&A call. As always, I'm Adam Ringler, and welcome back to another one of these, right? We're rocking and rolling. This is our Thursday Q&A with the Former Athlete Society. And if you're new here, this is where I take questions straight from the community. And I try to give you my honest, no fluff thoughts about anything that's related to sports performance, to strength and conditioning, to managing your health style, your lifestyle, and everything in between, right? So whether you're watching live right now or catching the replay, because sometimes I throw these up on YouTube. Otherwise, there's also instances where this is only exclusively just for our Former Athlete Society. That's our school-based community group that we have built. You can access it through either adamringler.com/school, SKOOL, or you could jump into the school site directly, SKOOL, school.com/former athlete. So that said, let's get into today's questions. Now, couple things before I jump into it, right? So I'm going to delay it even further. So I lied, right? We're not going to jump immediately right in. If you attend these live, right, you get to have all of your questions answered. First dibs, first priority. You get to raise your hand in the chat and you can be like, hey, coach, I got a question for you. And I'll answer it live directly just for you. That's what I do, right? That's why these are live calls. There's audience participation. Now, I also get that 9 a.m. for a lot of you guys that are now navigating professional life, that might be impossible for you. You might be like, Coach, I have a standing meeting at that time. I'm going into work at that time. I'm starting my job at that time. And that's okay. If you are, you can always email me at school@adamringler.com. You can email your questions. I will get those in directly to you. If you don't want to do that, then DM me. Join the community. Jump into it. You can find me in the community. I'm super active in it. And just direct message all of your questions to me. And anytime that I log in, if there's not live participation in the audience, I go to our emails. I go to our direct messages, and then I try to answer those questions through there. So if that's you, jump into the DMs, right? Email me those questions and we'll get into it. So first question comes from one of our school community members. And I want to kind of do it justice, so I'm reading it. I've been training consistently, but my energy crashes mid-afternoon. Is this normal, or is there something off with me, Coach? So for us, let me think how to answer that one, right? That 2 to 3 p.m. crash hits a lot of people, and especially former athletes, right? You guys are still wired to operate like you're 18, like you're 19, like you can just jump in and go into full-time training mode. And it's like the body still expects to get an afternoon nap, right? Maybe like you were in college. You go back to your dorm, you take an afternoon nap, and then you can you get going on classes again, right? That doesn't exist in the real world, right? And you know this. Now you have work meetings. You have real life stressors. So here's the deal. Crashes usually mean one of maybe 3 things. It could be poor sleep quality, erratic blood sugar, or maybe overcooked training. So my recommendation to you would be to try these things. Number 1, eat a real breakfast with protein and fats. Right? You can't just get by with having coffee in the morning like you did maybe when you're 19 years old. That's number 1. 2, stop skipping lunch or hammering processed carbohydrates solo. So, like I navigate this from time to time where athletes will come to practice. They'll be like, Coach, I haven't ate anything today. I'm starving. I'm hungry. And it's like, what'd you have for lunch? Well, I didn't have lunch. I was in class. So you're not 18 to 22 years of age anymore. You need to be a professional and be a grown-up and stop skipping lunch and just throwing down 2 bagels before practice, right? So hammering processed carbs solo. 3, maybe track your sleep with something like a Whoop or an Aura or an Apple Watch. It doesn't have to be forever. Maybe start with a week. And then just long enough to see your trends from Monday through Sunday. Because oftentimes those trends can be really, really revealing. I don't think you're broken. I think you're You're juggling more than you're used to. That's the demands of being a former athlete that you didn't have to navigate when you were just a current athlete. You navigated them. Your body was just a little bit more tolerable to the injustices that you put your body through during that time period. So maybe look into those things and see if you can address maybe one of those three things on that. Second question. This one's emailed to me from our school community, so I'm just going to jump into it. Coach, how do I stay competitive without actual games on the schedule? I love this one because competition used to be built into your week, right? You had a jersey, you had a scoreboard, you had a coach like me probably yelling at you. Now it's just spreadsheets and parking tickets and taxes and real life, right? So you got to manufacture your own stakes, your own competition. And here's what I would recommend. Time your workouts occasionally throughout the week. It doesn't have to be every single workout. But maybe you have a workout where you time it, right? And compete with yourself. Compete with your past self. Set a deadline and do something really hard, like a 10K, a lifting meet. Listen, I'm a strength coach. I'm a college strength coach, right? I'm not going to say CrossFit, whatever. But even something like Murph, right? And I'm not advocating for the mile run and the 100, 200, 300 reps or whatever. But do something hard. Do something that challenges your grit. Do something that brings out some fortitude in you, right? That's a good way of creating competition for yourself. Maybe use small groups, like 3 to 4 other former athletes from your coworkers or, your community, and go work out with them, or join a race, or hit a training or nutritional goal or something with them. Challenge each other. Look, I get it. Staying in shape is challenging when you get a little bit older. That's why I try to build little tiny competitions into my own weekly structure, because it gives me that little chip on my shoulder, and it still is sort of a lane that I get to run in and be competitive with, right? So that's you got to create, you got to manufacture your haters, you got to manufacture your own competition, and that oftentimes will give you some juice to get through your training week. Third question, and this one was a direct message. Again, this one comes from Instagram. You can find me at Instagram. I'm at Adam Ringler, just like the name, like the YouTube channel, like everything I've said. If you're watching this, then you probably already know, unless you found me in some recommendation feed or something like this. But this one got a direct message through Instagram. Coach, what's your opinion on rest days? Are they even necessary if I'm not really going hard anymore? Yeah, look, listen, short answer is yes. Long answer is hell yes. You got to have rest days. You got to have balance. You got to have some vacations. You got to get after it, train hard, but also recover harder. I know you're not running 2-a-days. Not many of us are. But just because your training isn't like college intensity anymore, it doesn't mean that it's not causing fatigue, right? Like life adds load, work stress, life stress, social stress, poor sleep, constant phone. You're on your phone all the time, right? There's emotional clutter. There's life clutter. There's physical clutter. All of these things pile up and culminate in stress. So recovery isn't just about avoiding injury. It's about staying sharp enough to keep showing up every single day. One solid rest day with some type of movement, like maybe walking or zone 2 or hiking or cycling or something like that, it's literally worth its weight in cold plunges and fancy health supplements and, AG1, things like that, right? So rest isn't weakness. It's actually it's discipline in disguise, right? The discipline are the ones that know that it's necessary to keep resting. It's easy just to kind of forge ahead. I say easy. It might be easier just to be headstrong and forge ahead, but it's not weakness, right? Like it's actually really powerful, and it's really disciplined to have the wherewithal and the foresight to know that you need to rest and take some time off. So great question, by the way. Next question. This one, again, this is from our school community group. Was posted in our online discussion board. When you join this, you get an online discussion board. You share your wins, you share your losses. It's kind of like a locker room for us, right? I post things there like the locker room bulletin board material, but it's a congregating point where everybody can just share in discussion, which is really cool. This one, what do I do when my motivation completely disappears? Great question. First of all, maybe don't panic, because everybody ends up losing motivation. It's kind of like bad weather, right? Like it will pass, but you can't just sit around waiting for sunshine. That's a waste of a day. If you just sit there staring out the window, watching the rain come down, hoping, praying, waiting for sunshine, you lose the day. You're not going to get that day back. So listen, when I'm unmotivated, I oftentimes shrink the target. I stop trying to win the week long, and I just try to win my morning, or win that day, or I put my shoes by the door. I fill up my shaker bottle before I go into work, or before I go for a run. I do one thing that gets me closer to my goal, right? That's some way I reframe it, rather than really looking at the global aspect of getting in shape or improving my performance. I also, for me, like, I end up tracking completion, not always perfection. So what I mean by that is, like, I'll have like a checkbox habit tracker. Sometimes I have it on my desk, I have it at home. And even when I have terrible lists from time to time. I have lists where I wanted a PR, linear progression, progressive overload. I wanted to add weight or add reps towards a target, and I fail, right? Even if I showed up, I still check mark that box. I showed up. I did something good for myself, right? And that's a win in itself. I think if you're thinking about like motivation, binary, like motivation's unreliable, but discipline, that habit, that's your insurance policy, right? Like, forget James Clear in his book, right? I've shared it in some of our micro lessons here. Talks about systems outlast motivation. And I'm a big believer in those things. So again, I try to keep these short and sweet. I'm not going to spend 25 minutes here. I know we got a little bit of time. We're like almost at the 12-minute mark. Coach, I used to eat like a machine in college. Didn't we all? I mean, that's what college is about in some respects. Now I just get bloated. What gives? So listen, I'm not a registered dietitian. I'm not even a nutritionist. I don't pretend to be one, right? But I'll say, if you're alluding to the idea that your metabolism broken, it's not, right? But your lifestyle has changed, right? And it's probably like your gut, your stomach, your body, like calling a timeout or something like that, right? So you got to listen to it. You can't just like ignore the signs and the symptoms of these things. Just like a smoke detector going off in your house, you can take the batteries out, but ultimately it's giving you an alarm. It's telling you that something's going on, right? So we got to be savvy enough and intelligent enough to listen to that alarm and actually follow its direction, right? So in college, you probably burn like 3,000 to 5,000 calories a day, right? Easily, right? And you probably had a coach that's controlling most of what you did, your intensities, your durations, your Kara hours, right? You could get away with a lot. And now, for most of us that are in professional world, you're sitting more, you're probably sleeping less, and you're probably falling back on the habits that you developed in college, and maybe even you're trying to replicate that engine without the same fuel demands. What I mean, like the same intensities of that engine without the gas or petrol or fuel that you're putting in. So here's what I would recommend that I think would help you. Number one, slow down your meals. And seriously, like just literally take more time to eat your food. So chew more than what you think you need to. Cut maybe some of the snacking all day habits. Like you could get away with it, Gatorade bars and protein bars and energy bars like we did in college. But, like really try to nail 3 to 4 really good solid meals throughout your day. If you're finding intestinal bloating and just distress, maybe keeping a food log for 3 to 4 days and noting how you feel, 30 to 60 minutes after you're eating. I think if you do those things, you'll spot trends, right? You'll start to see patterns in habit, right? You'll see that trend of when I eat X, this is how my body feels like Y. So former athlete digestion, if you will, it's a unique animal, right? But it's fixable. You just need to treat your gut like it's a part of your training program. If you recognize something's going off on your training program, then we just need to fix that, right? And so fixing it oftentimes means addressing it, noticing it, and then making actionable changes. All right. Those are the 5 questions I wanted to answer today, right? If you got questions for next week, drop them into our group, right? Drop them into our school-based community. You can email them to me. You can direct message them to me. It doesn't really matter how random you think they are. If you're wondering something, probably somebody else is as well. So keep showing up, keep asking good questions, and remember, we're trying to build something here that doesn't just end when the games do. So that's why I built this school-based community. That's why I'm so glad that you're part of it. And I'll catch you next week, Tuesday, our accountability call. I'll catch you on that Tuesday call where we state what we want to do and what our goals, what our intentions are, what our habits, what our, more importantly, our disciplines are going into that next training week. I'll see you next time.